honest, and be solutions-driven. This is your platform to use and influence policy, inspire action, and help build a more innovative, equitable, and resilient South Africa. Once again, thank you for joining us today and for your commitment to collaboration, and naturally, your passion for change. So, without further ado, welcome to the 2025 Youth Roundtable. I'd like to also introduce our moderator of the session, Tupitso Malema, a bold visionary that's 23 years old. A social entrepreneur, a technologist, and innovator from the dusty streets of Agri Park. He founded the Gamer Territory, an award-winning ed-tech company that redefines how students learn through digital gaming across Africa. He is also the founder of Flockify, an agri-tech platform inspired by his own journey as a poultry farmer. Flockify uses artificial intelligence to help farmers detect poultry disease early and access instant clinical reports and guidance. He's a passionate advocate for purpose-driven leadership and continues to inspire young Africans to merge innovation with impact, showing that where purpose meets technology, transformation follows. And now I'd like to introduce the DSTI Director of High-End Skills. He'll introduce himself.
It's fine. In a card.
Good morning, colleagues. Yes. Actually, what you should have written there is Mr. Imran Patel, Deputy Director General, Research, Development and Support. So I was drafted in late last night because DDG Patel is in a cabinet business this morning supporting the minister. There's a rule in the department that thank you, Program Director, there's a rule in the department that you don't punish those who have arrived on time. You just have to, start everything according to the scheduled time. But also I'm told that, and I'm not going to take more than 5 minutes, I'm also told that strict disciplinarian, the longest serving president of the ANC, Oliver Tambo, even though they went there to fight, but he would say that we would rather lose a war than lose a minute. So being here is almost like being in a candy shop. I started out as a teacher, so I can easily get carried away. But my DDG said I should pass one message and one message only. And that message is that inclusion, and you can read, no one should be left behind, is one of the cornerstone values of our 10-year science, technology, and innovation plan. And inclusion is about moving to the center those who were in the periphery of the science, technology, and innovation enterprise, namely women, centering women, youth, people with disability, and also blacks. And Maputo is moving away. She's driving, among others, the postgraduate funding program. And we have actually exceeded all the targets that we've set for youth, women, and people with disability. And we've done so, some of them for longer than 25 years. And now we're beginning to think that maybe we're overcorrecting, but we're not yet there. That's not an issue for today. So, early this morning I just conducted a cursory discourse analysis, we will call this. We simply put it's a head count of how many times the word youth appears in our STI decadal plan. And it appears 34 times. One of those appearances is that South Africa, and Africa as well, is a demographically youthful population. There's this youth bulge that we need to take advantage of. And you don't get that, with European countries. There's the issue of youth and the mix, not in education, not in employment, and not in training. The youth that are actually roaming our streets, some of them with degrees, and what do we do about them? So there is an emphasis, call it a cluster, a clutter, around youth innovation, youth entrepreneurship, and youth economic inclusion. And that's the reason why we are here. The umbrella theme for the Science Forum has always been igniting conversations. So we're here to ignite conversations about empowering the youth through STI for socioeconomic development. And I'm hoping that, I'll call this an imagine. I'm hoping that people who will emerge out of this will never be the same again. And never is a very, very long time. Program Director, I'm done. So enjoy yourself, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that. I'd like to invite the speakers to the stage, please. Ms. Duduzela Kubeka, Mr. Gold from Tulu, Ms. Ingrid, sorry if I butchered your surnames, I'm just going to say from South Africa Beyond for IR, Ms. Beatrice Zimbizi, and Mr. Kwena Habi.
Good morning. I just stepped up because I realized the piece hasn't arrived. So until then, I will be your facilitator. That's the beauty of being you. My name is Mato, and I'd like to introduce my panel. We have Duduzile. Can you raise your hand? Duduzile Kubeka, Ingrid Kope, okay. Beatrice Zibizi, and then Gwenam Kantuhapi. I work a lot with Becky, the DSI, Maputi, and others. I work as a senior scientist in Sifako Sciences University, and I'm an executive member of the South African Young Scientist Academy. So basically the talk of today is, as Mr. Becky has mentioned, on innovation, entrepreneurship, and inclusion of youth in science and economy. So without much waste of time, I would like our speakers to touch on the two key questions that were related to them. Ma'am, you can start, please.
Hello. Hi everyone, my name is Duduzile Kubeka. So the first question was addressing the challenges that are faced by the youth, young entrepreneurs, researchers and innovators, and to also propose solutions to those challenges. I grew up, born and bred in Soweto, Mbini, which is a township, I think for most of you would know. And we had limited opportunities at the time. And then I remember my first encounter with astronomy was at a primary school trip to Wits Planetarium. And I didn't hear about astronomy until many, many years later in university. That challenge still exists in many communities across the country. And right now I work in leading activities that engage communities and schools and people and outreach and education activities to introduce them and make science and astronomy accessible to people. And oftentimes the challenges we would find when having to go to those communities is there's the structural barriers. You sometimes cannot get into those communities because you would be told it's not safe. There's high levels of crime in those areas. And so last year we hosted a very big conference where we had international astronomers from all over the world and wanted to take them to those communities. But they raised issues of safety, and it's a genuine concern, right? But also that means a lot of people are left behind, because if we cannot get to those communities just because of those issues, we're still leaving behind a large number of people. We continue to run a program where we are now distributing screens, 100 screens, which are like mini computers, to over 100 schools across the country. And again, the issue was raised that if we are to put a screen in the school, that school must have infrastructure to keep those safe. That school must have certain buildings, must have Wi-Fi access. And a lot of impoverished schools in areas that are impoverished do not have access to those resources. So those are the main challenges where the access depends on where you live, where people who live in more suburban areas get more access to opportunities. Proposed solutions is from the programs that I've been running and working with other colleagues and other stakeholders is we trained young people, many young people from those communities to be the ones who respond to the challenges themselves, to go back to their hometowns, to go back there and be the ones who relay this information, who present these opportunities to people in those communities. Because for them, they will not say they are scared to go in there because they are from those communities. This also brings a culture of relatable role models. When you go to communities, you're able to speak their language, and the people in those communities relate with you because you understand their lived experiences. And we are also training these young scientists to become leaders, to become communicators, who would also grow up and advance in their careers, having this understanding that community is central to the work that we do. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So what you, in summary, basically saying that the crime within our communities hinders your penetration into this community. If you could just highlight on that.
Yes.
You mentioned structural barriers.
Structural barriers is a big thing. Oftentimes you go to these communities, right? Others are far, others it's not convenient to go to them because of transport. Okay. And again, yes, crime. I'm based in Cape Town, where I think you would know it's listed as one of the many red zones. And red zones meaning in some of those areas, even an ambulance cannot get inside the community because of how dangerous it is. When we were running those engagement activities last year, and we wrote to the municipality in Cape Town, they themselves warned us that you cannot just go there on your own, let alone take international visitors to those communities. So if you are to get into that community, you need to speak to community leaders, policemen, and have everyone be there with you as you go into those. And that's not easy. That's not even convenient, but it's something that we do need to do. But you find that if you don't plan out your activities well, if there's not enough support for those programs, those things end up not happening. And what do people do? They'll go to areas where it's just easy to get into, and tick a box and say you've done the outreach and engagement and engage communities. But a big group is still left behind because of the challenges, which is not even their fault. So what are we doing to address them?
Thanks. I'm hoping the audience is taking some notes because there are questions for that. Ingrid?
Okay. Thank you and good morning. As he just indicated, my name is Fortunatus Ingrid Owabamhlope. I'm the CEO for Africa Beyond 4IR. In short, we are called AB4IR. I'll start by sharing a little bit about what AB4IR does before I get into speaking about the challenges and the solutions, because what we do, we provide the solutions already as is. So what we do, AB4IR, we are a non-profit company. We run business incubation and skills development programs, both accredited and non-accredited. We are based within a township. We are from Mabopane in Pretoria, but we are operating on a national level. Coexistence here to SAB4IR is to bridge the gender and digital divide that is very much apparent within the communities that which we support. And those are township and rural developed areas. But of course, if a funder says go and do something in certain, we're not going to say no, we'll take it and still go. But our coexistence is to push the mandate, assist the SMMEs and the youth that is within the townships. And the previous speaker who spoke, I see it's not Mr. Beggy, it's the same who spoke before. He indicated indaba inclusion. So that is what we are trying to do, Tina SA, before our inclusion and ensuring that all of those things that we are finding in the suburban areas are also accessible within the townships. And by inclusion is also working with the townships to ensure that the likes of issues with security, crime, and are limited, not necessarily that you do away with them, but they are limited. So in terms of the challenges that I could highlight, that of which we've realized also within the townships, it would be that the youth within the township is very much excluded from these opportunities. This conference is an example. Apologies to the organizers. It's in Linwood. So can you imagine someone that is in Soweto who would have loved to come? I'm from a township where I have to choose between bread and butter and going to attend a particular event. Not necessarily that it's possible for all of these events to go into all these townships at a time, but we need to consider hosting within the townships that in which we are saying we want to impact the youth that is based within the townships, but somehow we expect them to come to us with the very same 350 that they are getting from government because they are not employed. And the other issue or challenge that I've realized that is very much apparent within the townships, it's access to tools, infrastructure, and the resources. If incubators, skills development programs, these high-end infrastructures are all based within your suburban areas, what about that one particular person that is within a township? Because we all are talented. There is talent within the townships and the rural developed areas, but the challenge will be accessing these resources. They are not necessarily within close proximity. And the other thing is skills, silo mentality within us as the industry. You find that within the very same department, there's 5 units, but when you speak to Unit A, they don't know what Unit 2 does, which is challenging for the one person who has at least managed to get through to person number 1 from Unit 1. If now you are saying I must go speak to another person in Unit 2, why don't you know? So imagine then what happens now when you have to deal with Department A, Department B, Organization C, Organization D. We are working in silo mentality, reason being, but a bulk of us, we are fighting for the same monies, for the same opportunities that we want to bring to the people. But if we were to work together, that could eliminate a level of the competency that which we are already putting to be apparent, because then we end up working as myself against all the other organizations, but instead if we work together, we can work more impact, and we end up benefiting the same people, providing benefits to the same people if we work in silo mentality. And then I think on the solutions part, I would say government, even as both actually private and public sector, we need to consider taking these opportunities, building these hubs within the townships. The more we include the townships and the rural developed areas, we already know, Sis has already indicated, in order for you to go into a township and do business in it, or to work or bring opportunities, you can't just rock up as Ingrid and say, I'm going to do a program. You need to at least know, it's information that you can get. Go to any other township, rural developed area and find out, where is the council, who is the councillor, where do I find them? Or even Google, where is the municipality? Go to the municipality, get this information before you can go. And now you come, you provide a solution, then you come and say, people in the township, they don't want us to do things there because they wanted to, of course they want to benefit. And the benefit is from, let there be service providers from the township. Where do we source the people that are attending if the very same townships and rural developed areas that we want to benefit don't even know what we are doing? Then it means there is a reverse cycle that we need to do. So it would be to bring the hubs closer to the communities and to create integrated innovation pipelines. This is from what we do at AB4IR. I'll make an example. When we do projects and write proposals, we say we're asking for funding to do a project. I'll mention one project is funded by FASET CETA, the Finance Accounting CETA. They are funding us to train youth within the townships on skills development. But what we've incorporated as at AB4IR is that give us the funds to train them, but also give us the funds to incorporate tools of trade. What we are doing now, we are doing away with the issue of access to your infrastructure. So now we are skilling, that is one, we're skilling the youth. But then we ensure that post-skilling, we also incorporate prototyping. There would be a hackathon as part of the project. This way we test that, did you really learn? Have you really developed things? Have you really learned? Have you gained the skill that we are saying we are providing to you? Then we incorporate incubation and access to markets. If we can help you with a job, we will then help you with business. We provide and incorporate the same and I'll pack them. I know I'm short, but I talk forever.
Thanks. Thanks so much. You provided a lot, especially on solutions. But on us here have excluded the disability community. We don't have an interpreter.
It's becoming a new passion for us at AB4IR. So our focus is needs youth. We are focusing on women and people with disabilities. Though it's still a bit of a challenge because when you speak to funders, again, there's a barrier there. Because then I'll come and say, I want the disabled person to have a matric. Not many of them have matric. They are put into systems that you leave the system at the age of 21 where you're in a center. The qualification that they get is pretty much equivalent to a grade 5. Then when I come and do a project, I speak to the CETAs, I go to government, I want to do a project, I'm doing digital skills. You're asking me for a grade 12 from a person with a disability. The inclusion also fails us from there. Even as today, I'd say we've also failed. I'm now looking at the entrances, I'm trying to imagine if we had a disabled person, where would they be? Right there at the top. Because they wouldn't have been able to come and sit in front. So the inclusion, there's a lot that we are failing when it comes to inclusion as well.
Let's hear from Beatrice, engineering.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to be part of the discussion and no problem solving. I am from /Women in Engineering. Just like the previous speaker, I'll share a little bit of what we do. So many years ago, our founders, Nadia Musaji and Emma Valab, were engineering students in Cape Town at a very prominent university. And amidst their educational journey, they found that there's very few women in the STEM field. They looked left, they looked right. It was just, their male counterparts, their male colleagues. So from then on, Womb Hub was born. So we are a boutique incubator, accelerator for female talent in STEM. So what we do is trying to create STEM awareness. There is no way that a 20-year-old will try to catch up as opposed to a child that in preschool started accessing coding and robotics. We are in the 4th industrial revolution, as the previous speaker said, and we want women of color to catch up into STEM. That's your science, technology, engineering, mining, manufacturing, and also, technology covers, innovation, as well as research. So there are a number of problems that I will discuss that we have faced, also considering the feedback that we get from our cohorts, from our beneficiaries. So as the previous speaker says, we do go to where the challenge is. As she was saying, we need to impact the children in Soweto, the children in Mahwelereng, in Mokopane, in Limpopo, that is where we want to make change. So we go to them, as opposed to them trying to find out where do I get access. So the main important thing is, equal access and inclusion. So let us go to where we need to empower, where we need to improve, So that is the problem and the solution. So access, and if I can say maybe digital access as well. We know the schools that have computer labs. We know the schools that have all the devices they need. They have Wi-Fi, unlimited data. And then as compared to our schools, in underserved areas. So that's a big challenge. We can't expect, a child, from an underserved area to come and be on the same level. I can't state the schools' names, but we know all these are model schools that, our leaders the access to data, and we know data is expensive, guys. How can you impact innovation when you can't even have access to Wi-Fi or data? It means the word empower itself is not even going to act. We need to have solutions that are real, that are practical. The other thing that we also realize is industry in itself is not ready to capacitate, our youth. We have big corporates, and our youth are looking for internships. They're not available. They're looking for apprenticeships. They're looking for learnerships. So a child may still go to and do their STEM subjects in high school, go to TVET college, go to university. But when industry is not ready to give internships to these kids, to make them have experience or learn more, it's not going to work. That goes also to the state. We have state entities that can bring kids into learnerships, into apprenticeships, paid internships for that as well, so that they get experience, they learn more, so that they are job ready, which is also part of what we do at HomeUp. We also, work with university fellows, TVET fellows, to make them ready for the industry. Innovation for women, we know how it is. An innovator going to ask for funding at a bank, a female innovator, and a male innovator, it's totally different. This is the reality. For funding, for access. So even for the job readiness in itself. So we also capacitate, our fellows, TVET colleges, university fellows, on job readiness. Small things such as CV. You can be an innovator, but if you don't know HR processes, you are stuck. So we focus on real impact, real work, and most of it is feedback from our cohorts. Then, if I may say the last thing, because at HomeUp, and they also have pitching competitions where they create prototypes, like the previous speaker was saying, and you'll be amazed at what the South African youth are innovating towards. Along the SDG goals, we have high school learners which have innovated on agriculture and technology, using drones, to impact agriculture. We have university fellows that have innovated around water, engineering, using technology to make solutions better to the problems that we face in communities. So they do also pitching competitions where there's amazing prizes, also to encourage them. Because now when they now are entrepreneurs, they still have to pitch to big corporates, to big funders, to big investors. And we build the confidence, as the speaker was saying before, we build confidence, self-development, all of those things that are crucial and necessary package to make a successful youthful innovator or researcher or entrepreneur. Thank you.
Thanks so much. You mentioned access to technology, Wi-Fi, computers. There's somebody out there who was once a 12-year-old in South Africa and started programming and did computers, Elon Musk. So,
we do know Elon Musk.
Yeah. So the story of Elon Musk, with relating to what you said about access to a simple computer, ability to take risk, try things on the computer that you have, makes much impact on the.
And how many people are like Elon Musk in South Africa? In reality, we want a child that is in KZN, in the deepest rural areas, not to be disadvantaged because they're in a rural area. We want a child in Limpopo, in the deepest. We want a child in Eastern Cape. We want the government to come and create that equal access so that our children catch up to the 4th industrial revolution. That's the only way empowerment can work, if we take reality into consideration. We do know Elon Musk's work. He's a great innovator, despite our feelings towards him. He's a great innovator, and that is what we want. Imagine do we know Butlale, that young girl from Limpopo who innovated a device to fight against GBV? we want to have so many butlales, but it's about access, it's about equity, it's about real empowerment. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. Kwena?
Thank you so much. I think it will be amiss of me not to mention that my colleagues have mentioned everything that I have prepared. But on a high level, I think it should be noted that South Africa is the most entrepreneurial country in the world. So that is something that we should look at and take advantage of. And as the minister said yesterday, we need to harness the power of AI to ensure that we drive this country forward. So in terms of digital economic inclusion, that will start with us harnessing what we have. So I think the DSTI plays a key role in this case because it has entities like your TIA, which I believe they can drive innovation by impacting most youth. The youth that we have in most rural areas don't have access to these particular opportunities, as already mentioned. So I think it's important to drive campaigns that are pivotal in this case. How do you do that? You need to go to the grassroots level to ensure that you drive those campaigns and awareness. As I speak here, I was telling my wife to say, I'm not so sure if I've seen an NYDA stand outside in terms of exhibition. I'm mentioning it because NYDA, as a youth development agency, it has funding from government. So in as much as they are there to assist the young people, but their visibility is more important than the funding itself. So I think it's about time that those issues are dealt with. And also, as part of the main challenge that I also have here is that fragmented partnerships across institutions. What do I mean by this? You have universities that are offering a cohort of degrees or qualifications, but are they speaking to the issues on the ground? Most of us, we go to universities to obtain our degrees, but are they really addressing what's on the ground? Of course, to a larger extent, they are addressing certain challenges, but with how things are moving now and time moving, we need to also catch up. By catching up, it means we need an industry and university partnership that will ensure that when they drive the curriculum or develop the curriculum, it speaks to those challenges on the ground. The other part that I have is insufficient industry participation. What we mean by this is, as an example now, we have Sasol. Sasol is such a big an industry. If they could put more funding towards empowering young people by putting funding aside, that comes up with what the colleagues mentioned here. You come up with internships, those fellowships, learnerships, apprenticeship. That way you drive the economic inclusion by helping the young people. I think it's about time when we meet in this kind of sessions, we stop reminding young people of how suffering they are, but what solutions are we bringing on the table. Moreover, as part of the way forward also is that we need to enhance youth participation in policy development. What do I mean by that? The DSTI, as I speak, there are a lot of white papers that I'm aware of. And those white papers, they address key challenges in the country. But what we need is the voice of young people in the development of those. That can be done through awareness and campaigns. They can go to a lot of schools and universities, have those whole discussion to ensure that we have the youth in voice and participation in the policy development and framework. So as part of my key takeaway, because I don't think it will be helpful to repeat what the colleague said, is that I'm committing to drafting a recommended paper to DSTI that I will request the moderator to share the emails of the colleagues so we can share a 2-pager with the DSTI as part of the recommendations of how we are going to solve the issue of unemployment and more challenges in the country. As we speak today now, South Africa is above probably 30 to 32% of youth unemployment. I could be corrected. But I think that should not be the number we keep on rehashing when we meet in these meetings. But the question is, how are we dealing with that to alleviate the level of unemployment and poverty in South Africa? Thank you.
Thanks, Kwena. You know, at SciAS, we have a working group on policy development and internalization. It's led by one of my colleagues, I forgot her name. But basically what SciAS does is, as voices of the young scientist, part of our work is to go into communities and speak to encourage STEMI development and work. And my particular portfolio is on scientific development and entrepreneurship. and Kamini, her name is Kamini, she works on this. So when you do share that document with us, we will get some more comments from Saya's perspective. I wanted to talk on the issue of campaigns and awarenesses within communities. Colleagues here mentioned how difficult it is to go into those communities. How do you keep up as an individual or as an organization to keep, even though there's barriers, overcome those barriers and still continue to do those campaigns and awarenesses within communities?
I think that's the most simplest thing to do. Young people have technology on their hands. As we speak today now, most young people, they'll probably all have TikTok. They probably all have WhatsApp. And on WhatsApp, if you check, there's a portion of something called a channel. If the GSTI can come up with a channel on WhatsApp that is dedicated to young people, then that way we can have those inputs in terms of youth participation in policy-driven and driving the framework. I think that can be the start. But as for technology, they do have access to it. I think what we need to also do is make sure that they have access to data. I mean, my colleague just mentioned here, if we could try a way, I know it's not an easy thing to do, but we need to find a way. If you check around city of Tshwane now, if you go to the parks, I think there's free Wi-Fi. So it's a limitation, so to say, because it's only at the parks. But I think we can try our level best as part of improving. I think we cannot sit here and blame the government. They are doing their best. I mean, our government has done, for the past 10 years of this science forum, a lot has happened. It is this country today that will be developing a vaccine that is home-based. So I think we are capable of anything. Thank you.
Thanks so much. They also have TikTok, DSI. You want to comment?
Okay, I wanted to touch on what my fellow panelists mentioned about, policy, white paper. So to the youth, this might sound like boring stuff, but it's actually important and necessary for them. I'm sure we are way past over our youth on this panel. So in as much as we come with suggestions, I'm not sure, maybe they need to be part of the discussions. You need to know what a policy is, what a white paper is. And in actual sense, you have the power to influence policy as the youth, because these are your policies which are going to impact you. So if you can, instead of spending time on TikTok videos, find out how to impact policy as youth. It's a right, and the democracy of South Africa is so great. You can actually find out where and how to impact policy and, contribute to white paper. And you can one day say, we worked on this before it even comes to us, because we are the other generation. And also in terms of access, the question that you asked. So at WOM Hub, we have the privilege of, working with, big corporates, SASO, as you mentioned, De Beers, Kumba Iron Ore, there's a lot standard. So these companies know the areas where they want to impact, and they come to us and we provide the service. So we have been to Musina, Venetia Mine, where we've picked, schools from, underserved areas, and we have workshops with them. Half day, it's enough, you impact. We have been to Northern Cape. I didn't know that there's a place in Katu, but these places need impact as well. We go there, Kumba and says, come and speak to young girls. Tell them about innovation, about technology, about STEM. We go there. So we do have that privilege of getting these companies coming and say, we want to impact these areas, please go. And that is where we go.
Thanks. We will take questions from the audience before we go to the next item. The mics should be working. If you want to test it before I take a question, please, madam. Yes. No, you. Yes. Can we have some little bit tutorial? While she's still there, does anyone else have a question that we can get to? Yes, ma'am. You have a teacher voice. Can you speak? Oh, it's coming on. We can hear you. You can.
Am I audible? Okay, great. So the first question I have, in terms of like impacting youth, because these youth have parents, and usually you guys come there once, but the parents are the ones who are going to be motivating the kids. So my question is, how do you involve parents in the whole campaign of, hey, be astronauts, be engineers? Because after you guys leave, they are the ones who have to lead their kids to get to that certain degree. So I guess my question is, are you targeting also parents? And if so, how do you do that? Because they're also involved in the kids' life, and they will obviously have a much bigger impact on how the kids turn out as opposed to you guys. I guess that's my question.
Thanks. Before they take it, I'd like to have a second question. You can proceed.
Hello, everyone. With me, it's not really a question. It's more of suggestions, right? And I just wanted to start off with, I think, something that is not communicated enough. The 30% pass rate at high schools. The 30% pass rate at high schools is a huge problem, because when we get to the university, you're expected to get 50%, and it's not easy, right? And I don't know if there's a conversation that needs the Minister of Basic Education, but I think this is something that we really need to touch on, because if we are going to assist the high school learners, we can't keep on bringing them to university with lack of enough information. What do you mean you understand mathematics when you only know 30% of the work? You know, and to go back to also mention that when it comes to the universities, I am a student at Tshwane University of Technology, and I'm doing my second year in food technology. And I don't think we get so much access, or you as these organizations, I don't think you guys reach out enough to us. And another suggestion that I was making is, I think that student bodies would be a huge assistance in a way that, you know, when we go back home, we can also be able to assist these learners or the children who are home and they don't even have access to universities. You know, I know them because I come from the township, so it's easier to connect. But how do we connect, and how do we know what to say and what to tell them if we are not also included in the discussions that you're making? Because I think if you are really to come to the universities and come and try and hear what the students have to say, there is going to be so much more improvement in the development and innovation. Thank you.
Thanks. Before we proceed, welcome, Tsepiso. Yeah, he just flew in from somewhere across the world. So can you do some little bit of introduction and tell us about your work? Thanks.
Yeah, good morning to everyone. As they say, life and leadership don't always go as planned. According to a minor accident, but I'm glad I'm here. It's always about how we show up, right? And hello to the young people at large. Young people, hello. Yeah, this is a youth roundtable. It must feel like it. So my name is Tsepiso Malema. I'm the founder at Tech for Africa Group, which is a company, or a group of companies that I started while I was in grade 10 in a township called Ivory Park. So I managed to build, startups from the support, that I got from initiatives that are supported by the DSTI, initiatives such as the Nkatuto Edu Propeller. They are the ones who groomed me to be where I am today. And so I believe it's all about having someone who can carry you by the hand, and it's such initiatives. So I think what we need to look into is what is actually working and how do we then multiply that. So Nkatuto managed to build a Tsepiso who has built the best ed tech startup in Africa, and how do we now create other initiatives such as Nkatuto in places like Eastern Cape, Limpopo, and then from there we know that there's an ecosystem, right? So yeah, I think I just wanted to answer briefly on that, because at most people from the townships, there's an image that we create of ourselves, right? But for me, I think at least at an earlier age, I was able to see the potential, that I could, reach. And I didn't waste time. I made sure that I kicked those doors, I knock on all those doors, because really opportunities won't really come to you on a silver platter. It's all about you, the young person, the person you're sitting next to. Just make sure that you network. You don't know where, that particular person will put you. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. As a change maker yourself, an outlier of note, your parents' involvement, how did you deviate from the normal traditional go to school, do ABC, get your matric and university? How did you navigate that?
Sure. Yeah, I think for me, I come from an entrepreneurial family, but at most, obviously, my mom used to sell the Tupperware, table charm, and all that. But they didn't take entrepreneurship as something that could be a sustainable career for me, right? And for me, I think from an earlier age, I knew that I wouldn't type a CV or something like that. So I had that mindset. And every time I would communicate that to say, yes, I'll go to the university. I actually went to the University of Pretoria, but I couldn't finish. And all my friends are graduating. And at some point, it does feel like I'm stuck. But I then got to a point where I saw that actually life is not all about taking the traditional route. There's also other routes. I'm not saying don't go to school. I'm also planning to pursue, to finish off. I'm only left with 1 year at tax. It's just a matter of building these sustainable businesses in the very same way that, someone who's a graduate would then build them. And also utilizing the support that comes from different departments. And I must say that getting support from the government, you always need to have a qualification. So but having to communicate that, I think my parents had to see results first. When they saw results, when they saw that, okay, I was the first one to travel to the USA because of my entrepreneurial endeavors, that's when they're like, oh, okay, maybe there's something. When they saw me coming at the plastic, then I think that's when it became acceptable. But how about someone who's building from scratch, who has no results, who still has to, seek funding? So I'd rather say that just keep a focus on your journey. People will say different things, but just keep focused.
Colleagues, you want to touch on the question on parents' involvement? We will take later. I just wanted us to touch on the question on parents' involvement and undergraduate initiatives.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'll take the question on parent inclusion. There's different ways where we try to include parents. The challenge that we often come across with is some of the parents that we are trying to incorporate, it's our BBT parents, born before technology parents. The moment you try to involve them, you literally throw them off. And then we have the generation, which is us, who understand, who are willing. Then there's another generation, which I'm afraid we are raising now. Yes, they will be included, but they will have a challenge. I'll get to that. So I think I'll mention how us at AB4R we try to include parents. We have a program called Kid Coders. With our Kid Coders program, it's kids aged 10 to 15. That's the age we've been winning with. We've tried to go through the government, I think the schools, they sent us to Second District, and we threw in the towel, but we still were dependent on social media. So that's how we included parents. This is where now we were advertising to parents to say, can you lend us your child during school term holidays? We'll teach them how to code. So that's how we're able to include parents. And then there's parents of kids who are already pre-tertiary level, your matric, maybe high school level. How we try to include their parents is when we do programs, we do a bring your parent program. That if you're coming, your child is coming to attend, we encourage the kids, bring your parents to come and attend so that they can also learn. When we do events, we have annual events at AB4R, 3 of them Youth, Women's Month, and also Heritage. We also don't just necessarily target youth. Yes, our focus is youth. But with these events, we also expand them, extend them to parents, so that they can also, those that are above youth rather, they can come and benefit from these opportunities. The incubation is not only for youth, our incubation. Our programs as well, they are not only limited to youth. But then again, the onus lies within our parents. Some of us are not willing to even participate. We have a program called Fundamentals of Coding. The oldest person we had, she was 52. It was her first time literally even using a PC, but we taught her how to code. Within a week, she left, she was even top of the class. So it all depends on the parents. We do try to incorporate, but it's not every other parent that is willing. So there are means, there are programs that are put in place. There are programs that are done for the elderly. But then again, it goes back to an individual. But there are programs, so we try to incorporate parents. Thank you.
Okay, and then I'll address the issue of undergraduates. But before I get into that, there's this very small poem I remember from when I was young. It says, there was an important job to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought that anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. So the basic message here is the onus is on us, every individual. We can talk all day and say the government needs to do that, organizations need to do that, but I just personally, firmly believe we are placed at specific places at a specific time for a specific purpose. And if there's something that itches you, maybe you're the one who needs to scratch that. And so one of the programs we run to address your undergraduates is we work with students and train them and mentor them to go back to communities and be representatives and ambassadors of the communities that they are from. That means from this early age, they get to experience and grow and develop in that. And I think it's one of the programs I would love to see expanded, not just within our science space, but in many other sectors as well, because it is everyone's responsibility to feed back to our communities and empower our people.
Thanks so much. If you know about ESCOM Expo for Young Scientists, and you judge or mentor in those spaces, you will realize that that initiative will expose you to so much within the division of higher education and innovation. So for some of us, and I would like to come back to you on the undergraduate involvement, we learned so much about DSI through the ESCOM Expo. Even before I got to Ngatuto and SciAS and a lot of things, just judging in a regional sessions, you then start to see everything that you don't know of from there. It's not just you impacting on the student or the learner, it's also you coming back to you and learning about everything that is available. So I agree with her. Sometimes it's us who are not so much involved outside of our test and exam and assignment. So, Kwana, you wanted to say something?
Yes. I wanted to touch on the 30% pass mark concern that she raised. I think it's nothing new that you are raising here, and I'm happy that you still touch it. It shows the concern. But to put you at ease, I can tell you today that there is a draft bill in Parliament about the issue of this 30% pass mark. So I think it's one of those things where, as young people, and this is not actually related to you in any way, but to say that we need to follow Parliament proceedings, we need to follow the bill drafting, and I think I'm putting this challenge to the DSI in this case to say, bring the young people together, inform them about these things. I know, that's why earlier on I mentioned GSTI white paper. It's not most young people who know about white paper or green paper, so to say. So I think the GSTI today, and they are amenable to assisting young people in this case. So I'm putting a challenge to them to put those awareness campaigns to empower the young people. So as another one that you mentioned about the youth exclusion, I think on this one, I already have a suggestion for the GSTI, which is Youth Innovation in Bizo. I think this can be something that is done by the GSTI, and they can even do it on a quarterly basis, so to say. I mean, in South Africa already, we have around 26 universities. I could be correct or wrong. But if they run something called Youth Innovation in Bizo, they can try to reach out to a lot of young people, whether virtually or even visiting those campuses, just to empower them, have a dialogue with them. And in conclusion now, on the part of the 30% pass mark, I wanted to say to you, in my book, I have a book called We Shall Rise. In my book, I have a poem called What If Schools Are Not Enough? That is something to ponder upon, because if you think about how now we are moving into 4IR, school is there to train you to a certain extent, but a lot of potential that you have sometimes is not even tapped. So which means you can do a lot with your talent and your potential to come up with those small businesses and innovation. Thank you.
Thanks so much. On the question of DSI Youth Innovation in Bizo, where is it hosted?
Well, this is a proposal I'm putting to them.
Oh, your proposal. Because we had,
Yes.
in June, Tepiso was here, we had a Youth Indaba conversation here in CSIR. And it still points out to the issue of limitation, because if you are here, the likelihood of somebody from Limpopo or Eastern Cape to arrive here are very limited. So I guess you are correct to say, let's have some of these discussions online so that we are able to reach everybody who has access. Other questions? I'll take one, just one. Lady? Yes.
Okay.
One question, yes. Just one, we don't have much time.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. It's actually more of a contribution than a question. So in terms of getting the youth involved, I would suggest using technology and social media. So include the youth in it, in part of your organizations. I think work with undergraduates, postgrads, the youth in general, and have them reach out to schools across the country. I'm from Limpopo. A lot of these things that I'm learning about now are very new to me, and I'm finding out that there's high schoolers in Johannesburg that have been doing these things for years. So I think get the youth to engage with schools across the provinces. You can have different people, this one for Limpopo, this one for KZN, Ganjalo, and then you have them reach out to these schools via their social media pages, via their emails, contacts, and you work with the teachers as well. So in this way, the students will be able to find out about these opportunities at school, instead of worrying about, how will they access a laptop, a phone, or data at home. Schools that have the facilities, their Wi-Fi, projectors, whatnot, they can have like Zoom meetings at school where, let's say grade 10 to 12 or grade 8 to 10, whatever, they all come into the hall and we have one meeting, one workshop, one session, and the students are all learning together. And then by engaging with the teachers, you ensure that the teachers, back to that problem of parents, that issue of parents, sometimes you don't even have to go to the parents per se, but teachers influence us a lot. So if you're working with the teachers can then ensure that they are consistently engaging with the students about these opportunities. And then also when it comes to, there was something mentioned about Unit 1s working with Unit 2s. I think, again, work with the youth, and then in your organizations, you say to them, okay, we're working with business students, with commerce students, with humanities students, with science students, not just, let's say, engineering students alone. Because like you said, some students don't know about HR policies. I'm doing BCom. For my first year, I did HR. So you can have people in my cohort, you can have people doing the humanities, perhaps creative writing. They come and they teach them, this is how you write a proposal. The commerce students, they come and say, this is how you do a marketing pitch. So I think this is how people in this room can also get involved. We're doing different degrees, I'm assuming. So I think that's how you can accommodate the youth, both high schoolers and people that are in their university journeys. Thank you.
So, if I'm hearing correctly, that was like a suggestion. Eh?
Yeah.
Correct. Thanks. Any comment?
Yeah, I think all the suggestions are valid, especially if they're coming from the youth's voices. They need to be considered. So I agree with the comments, I agree with the suggestions. And maybe one last thing in terms of parental consent. I want for sure tell you that parents are, yeah. I wanted to do journalism. My mom was said, what if you're posted to a war zone and you die? So that dream died. I don't know how we got there. Then I did honors in political science. Then they said, so you're going to Toy Toy. I'm like, what about governance? What about policy? This is how you learn. So yes, parents are the biggest hindrance. And I'm a parent for sure, I know. So it is up on you, on your honors, to lift the torch of your career. We have had people, I have a lady who said she wanted to be a geologist, and the parents said, so you're going to play with rocks? What kind of a career is that? But now we have, innovation where geologists don't have to go and struggle to see where the minerals are. They're using, innovation to have, something to make life easier. That's AI. So parents, we hinder you, but light your torch and go on, my guy. Thanks.
We are the current parents and the future parents. How do we get the government and industries involved in helping us solve the problems that we have addressed here?
It's a cross-collaboration effort. NGOs are not going to do it by themselves. Industry is not going to do that by themselves. Government is not going to do it by civic society and government, and everybody must come together. So it's not going to be the government alone or the youth alone. It's a collaboration. It's with the community as well, gatekeepers, the things that you're talking about. So it's not a one-man's effort. Everybody needs to come in, all stakeholders actually. Department of Education to address 30%, empowering teachers, taking them back to school. My own mother is an educator, but that was early 80s. She still doesn't know how to use a computer, but she's a teacher. So her kids are disadvantaged. So it's everybody coming in together, community leaders, government, everybody, NGOs, all sectors.
Before I take another comment from the panel, the audience, is there a question or a suggestion on the issues we have discussed? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So it's both a comment and a question. So what I've realized growing up, in terms of access to opportunity, places to go, how to apply for university, all these kinds of stuff, that information isn't necessarily easily accessible. So, for example, you can talk about all these incubation hubs, DSTI, but if nobody knows about it, they can't get access to that. Yeah. And now, my question, and both a comment, because I'm glad somebody brought up something like social media, is that social media decentralizes information. So the problem is, like, we come here, and the information here is still in a silo. But something like social media platform, you can get it spread to millions of people in an hour. The problem is, and this is my question and suggestion, is that social media works differently than traditional forms of communication. A TikTok video is 1 minute. You need to be catchy, you need to be quick, and you need to grab the attention in 1 minute. And it's very difficult to compact all this information into a minute video. And so then my question is, how are you guys and different agencies making use of this platform? Because there is a group of people who can help you make these information accessible on social media. It's the users themselves, the youth. So how are you guys involving the youth in the spread of information that uses these kinds of platforms? I make an example like the Gen Z protest that's been happening. A lot of that happened on TikTok. So I think some people have seen like Duolingo's Instagram page, TikTok page. There's definitely like a young person there who's doing that. And so my question is, how can you guys use the youth in the spread of information, especially something like social media as a platform? Thank you.
Thanks. Is there anyone in the audience who's a content creator who can answer that question on how do we put everything together to reach you within 1 minute? Anyone? Any science influencer? There is. Hi. Yeah. Comment on that. So you are a science influencer.
No, I'm not a science influencer. I raised my hand before I got to the science part. I did do a year of life sciences though in uni. But I'm a member at Youth at SIA, so we do a lot of campaigns, initiatives where we have to educate the youth sometimes, and I have done their Instagram infographics and whatnot. So I think anybody in here, you don't have to use just TikTok. Like I said, working with different people, so some people can be on TikTok. I'm not a TikTok person. I don't like my face on camera and stuff like that. So people that do like TikTok, they can, people like humor, right? You can lean on that, start your video with humor. People like whatever is trending, so that person can constantly be analyzing what is trending. South Africa, there's always something happening in South Africa. There's always a film happening in South Africa. You can lean on that because at the end of the day, when I'm on TikTok, I usually just want to take a break, right? But you want to reach those students that are on their phones to take a break. So I think having, don't say because it's science, I want to go in and kill it serious, and I'm like, yeah, this is science, because you're scaring me now. I'm like, hey, I don't know what that is. So I think just speaking to the youth in a voice that they will understand, speaking to Gen Z in a voice that they will understand. On Instagram, making your content fun, creative. Like I said, it's very important to not be too formal and say, this is science, I'm going to go in here with my jargon and, my lab coat and everything. So speak to the youth in a voice that they will be interested in and that they will understand, and that's how you capture their attention, in my opinion.
Thanks. I would like to take gentleman there. I will come back to you, colleagues. Yes.
Compliments of the day. My name is Pesi Maimela. I'm from Limpopo.
Okay, continue.
So I have a suggestion to say we have this thing of social media, and then we must recall that not everybody in the rural areas, they have access to cell phones. So my suggestion is that let's go back to the basics of Mushitwa Tsebelo Bitabisho. Let's go back to using the radio stations that are currently there, and also not only the provincial radios, but those radios that are within the district, within the local municipalities. There are newspapers in those areas whereby I think such platforms can be used to get information being accessed to everybody. Because of as much as I'm on my cell phone, you may find that my grandmother is still reading a newspaper and she can tell me, say, my child, here's something for you, maybe you can do something about it. That's one platform. The second platform is that let's use these NGOs as well as schools. If we have a conference at ZCC annually, why can we say, can we just have a section of your part whereby we will address such things? Not only we see the church as a place of worship, but we also see a place whereby we can come together and be innovative as well. And another thing is that I am uncertain with what I'll say. However, when we look at this 30%, most of our problem is that we try to solve or we do things in a language that we do not understand. So before you understand the problem, you need to understand the language. So you may find that the innovation is there. However, you explain it in English and somebody needs to understand Newton's third law. What does it mean? But then it's in English, not in their mother tongue. So I think if we can start looking into such aspects, we can really get somewhere. Thank you.
Thanks. Who's the communication person from DSI? We just want to ask if Tobela FM knows about this conversation. It's you. Did you?
So, as someone who works as a science journalist, I didn't do science, but I'm a science journalist where I report stories about science in a language that ordinary person can understand. I find it difficult that people don't understand a lot of things that you are saying because you are using jargons, language that young people don't understand, language that there's a gap between you guys and the youth. Also, there's this disconnection where DSTI is giving people opportunities like internships. What about after 24 months? The talent that they gain, where is it going? It's getting missing. So I find that a bit difficult. So I kind of feel like department need to do something about that, where we retain the talent, we retain the youth that are in communities that are pushing the message of let's talk about science in languages that as a parents. We are talking about an illness. They don't understand that illness. So how do we inform that grandparent that, okay, this is this in a very simplified language? I also feel like we need to simplify the language. Not everyone understands the scientific, the academic language. Thank you.
Tsepiso, bolla spedi monnarisho.
Yeah, just to, I think right now we need to all agree that content is key, right? Content is the new currency. So I think us as the people in STEM also need to make it more fashionable by building brands online and authentic brands. So by authentic brands, so what I usually do on my social media is that, because I'm also a poultry farmer, so most of the time people will see me in suits, but every time I go to the farm, I would be in overalls and capture the whole moment, me having to chase those chickens, doing all that, and making sure that everything is more authentic and people can see what's happening behind the scenes. I was last night, as I was busy preparing for this event, I was posting on my statuses in terms of, all the speakers will be there. So the authenticity now, breaks more of like the barrier in terms of the young person who's watching me to like, oh, actually I can also do this, right? So I've gotten a lot of young people now more interested to be in the agricultural space because of the content that I post online. And now that there's authenticity, which now creates trust between me and my audience online, whenever I post about an event that is happening at the CSIR, they're interested to come. So now that means, I think maybe there should be a compulsory module in STEM for content creation to build brands, because I think the people who are in STEM are uptight. Apologies.
Yeah, before you say it, it then boils down to the issue of access to a cell phone and data. I know I share on LinkedIn, but not many people in this room follows me on LinkedIn or Twitter or or Facebook. So if somebody does not have data or a cell phone, how do we then get to your information?
Yeah, so we're doing a research on smartphone adoption, right? And more than 90% of young people have smartphones. I think maybe from next year we won't be having a conversation of access to a smartphone, because young people do have access to a smartphone, but what do you do with that particular smartphone? I think that's now the collaboration that needs to happen with the Department of Education to say, now how do we use the smartphones to our advantage? Because I was able to start coding at the age of 16 using my smartphone. So how do we now get young people? I see young people in uniforms there. So we also launched a platform recently called Flockify, which if you're a young person, you want to get into agriculture, you can just go www.flockify.co.za. There's free courses on agriculture. You can start planting, you can start anything at the back of your house. So, but how do you get access to that? Yeah.
Before we close, colleagues, I want to take last question from the members. My lady has been raising her hand since the first. Please.
Thank you. My question is to Ms. Ingrid, and I think I wanted to ask Sister Dulisile as well, but I think you can just answer the question. I wanted to ask about impacting the community. How do you really deal with the community resistance? Because sometimes you find that there are programs that you want to implement in the communities for visibility, advocacy, and awareness, but you get so much resistance from the councillors, especially if you grew up in that community. There is a saying that says, a prophet is not without honor, only in his own community. Sometimes I go back home. I grew up in the Eastern Cape, in the village, and I see people that I grew up with. Every time I go home, my heart breaks because I can see that after matric, they didn't do anything about their lives. They just, consuming substances and just, yeah. So how do you deal with community resistance where you want to bring a project, but it's like, okay, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? We don't want to raise the hopes of the people in the community, bring something that is not sustainable in terms of the consistency? And if there is a project that you have implemented, how do you then monitor or evaluate to see if is it like, do you do it maybe quarterly, in a 6 months period? How do you track that the project is really working and is benefiting the people that it's supposed to benefit? Because that's another thing as well, where you find that we speak about women empowerment, but we are empowering women that are already empowered, or youth empowerment, and it's people that are already having an advantage than the people that are disadvantaged.
I think you can continue.
I cannot. Thank you for that, my lady. I think what has worked for us is that we've hosted an event within the month of youth in 2023 throughout the country for the whole month of June, 2 days in each province. It's called the Digital Youth Festival Africa. So how we were successful in terms of hosting this event, which it cuts across with everything that we do, where we are hosting within other townships or areas that in which we are not operating from. We partner with a local company or a local organization. Or even if you find we have mentors, we have entrepreneurs that which we've incubated, we have organizations that which we work with. So we partner with one of them that is within the community. It eliminates the issues that one comes across with because they can already relate with that particular company. Then AB4R, I can come after. I don't mind coming to an area to do a project and it's seen as though it's a project. Yaga Sistut. I don't mind. I still would have made the impact. It doesn't have to be my name that is in the front for me to be able to make that impact. As long as impact has been made, then what we do, we come, we upskill, and then obviously if we're working with the community, it's easier if Usestutu knows that in Soweto, this is my database. I know A, B, C, and D, they've already accessed this. Okay, this one is the first time I'm actually seeing. Okay, maybe this one is, and all of that. So we also try to do background checks. It's not as easy because you can't find it on everyone, more especially those that are within the townships. So the moment you have someone within the local that you've partnered with to implement, it makes it a little bit easier. And how we monitor beyond that. When we leave, we don't just leave them, we leave them with Usistutu. Sistutu, can they co-locate in your facility, those that want to be incubated? Can they be incubated with us, but can they be coming to your facility to access the resources, to access the infrastructures and everything, whilst we work remotely with them? So that helps us to keep track as well on the business incubation. And on the skills program, we incorporate entrepreneurship with everything that we do. Not all of us are going to get employment at a company. Some of us need to be taught how to do businesses. So we also incorporate an introductory to entrepreneurship, and then we do business model canvas with everyone that we are assisting. Our incubation starts from a stage where I come as Ingrid, who just has an idea. I don't even know where to begin. We incubate the likes of those. So that is what we then do. How we live, it's that we leave them in the capabilities of the partner that we are currently working with within the particular community. And then we do 3 months touch base, monthly basis, which is touch base, but definitely within a 3 months period, we would have spoken to the person that is within the program that which we are monitoring. But that is how we do it. Thank you.
Thanks. Sister, do you want to touch on that? And please highlight the part where a startup will go for about 2 years without an income. How does the founder survive?
I cannot answer for startups. I work in astronomy and science engagement. And on the question of well, please tell me again, community.
Yes, communities.
So we work with members of the community. In our programs, I guess that the ones I've been emphasizing the most is working with the youth from the particular community, working with schools from those community. And the recent project we ran is also working closely with science centers and working with community leaders. I know programs we'd run in Soweto would look for the councillor, the local councillor there. Whenever we're going to go for any engagement, we contact the local government or education department there to be the ones who refer us to the schools and the main contacts that we need to get into. Because what's most important here is that the people who are from those communities become ambassadors for those communities. And I heard your point about going back and, you see people you grew up with. But yeah, it's you are the representative of that community. There's many people here in the room, and from the audience, what would come is, you guys, I think I'll keep on going back to the fact that Our universities are filled with people from rural areas and townships. We should be the ones going back to our homes and talking about these opportunities. There's a program we run which is like using the cascade model, where if you are a senior researcher, we are trying to get you to mentor early career researchers. Early career researchers are trying to mentor learners or school learners or university level students, and students go back to high schools. And that's the approach I would like to really emphasize here. If you are anywhere in life, you are somewhere higher than someone else. So uplift those that are below you. If you are in university and you are doing your first year, you know way more than someone in high school, and you could go back to your old school and talk about how you got there. Show them how you did the application and what landed you in university. If you're an early career researcher, you can talk to more students about what steps you took to get to where you are. We need to get to a point where we are not just beneficiaries of these programs, but we need to take ourselves as solution drivers. We are capable. We are so much more capable. And if we think like that, even without employment, you would be able to think of solutions that will keep you fed and would also empower other people around you.
I like the part of mentorship, because I do mentorship a lot. I have mentors myself, and I echo that once you start being in the mentorship space, you actually, the person younger than you could point out some limitations in you, and it helps you to work on them and then grow. I want us to close, but we still have one last question and one challenge that I want the young people to pose to us. I want the audience to pose a challenge to us, and in closing, as part of closing, we answer to that challenge. Are you challenging us? Okay. Yes, you. Switch on the mic. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Speak.
Greetings in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. This is a great challenge for the entire South Africa. I've got a concept as I came here, that I came indeed to put it as a challenge. To say, let us rebuild or revamp our South African municipalities system as we see it's a decay. I'm proposing, it's a document that is complete right now. I'm proposing to say, let us come together collaboratively to start up a program whereby I'm calling all stakeholders within the very same areas we live in to build our municipalities. How so? Fostering communities by feeding schemes, the innate agri programs, as well as environmental cleaning and tree planting. That is a full-bodied project that just needs people with expertise and the funds. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Do we have a paper to put down all our emails for that challenge of collaboration to build communities? So that once Becky leaves here, whatever he puts down, he sends an email to all of us, and then we contribute to that challenge. Colleagues, you want to close? Closing comments. Closing comments and then answering to the challenge. I know Tsepiso.
The challenge comes to the younger one, okay. So, I don't believe we need to start a new organization. I think we need to maximize on what's working, leveraging on what's working already. And we do not have a lack of talent. We have lack of access and coordination, because we can't have a B4IR only in Mabopane, And with the kind of work that I've actually also am a beneficiary of a B4IR, coming from Tembisa, traveling there, it's 3 taxis, right? How about we have something like that in Tembisa, right? So it's just a matter of maximizing, duplicating what's working in Mabopane, put it in Tembisa, and looking in different, in a holistic way, not just tech, not just startups, health, all industries. We just need to then duplicate what's happening in other places. That's my 2 cents.
Gwena?
With regard to the proposal also there and the challenge, I think it speaks to community development. So it's all about us. There's nothing about us without us. So I think we can do it. So as a challenge, back to the proposer, because he did mention he has a proposal, I would say after these sessions today, when he leaves this place, make sure you go to Twitter and you search for example, if you're from Tswane here, the mayor here is Nasipi Moya, is a Dr. Nasipi Moya. Please search her and send her a tweet about your proposal and also request a meeting. Please make sure you do that, because the other time she did host what you call a space on Twitter, and I was part of the space, and we shared with her the challenges of young people in this province. And there was a mention of few things to be done in the future. As I speak now in Tswane, if you notice, there are a lot of places or buildings that are old, but they're trying to turn them now into entrepreneurial spaces. So I think make sure you do that. And also, as part of my concluding remarks, I want to say, young people, you are no longer the future. You are the present. That speaks to you being here today. So go and give back to your communities. Ensure that that knowledge that you have is going to help somebody else out there. Thank you.
What I noted, he said, nothing without us, for us. Madam?
Thank you for the challenge and the proposal. I'll actually touch back on one word that you said when you were sharing with us, which also responded. You said, bring your expertise. For me, my last words is a challenge to us here on these chairs, not to the youth. I implore us, NGOs, stakeholders, corporates, the government, to start now listening to the people, not to bring our expertise, but to go to the grassroots and to listen to them. This is why communities are wary of us, and rightfully so. We come with language that is ununderstandable. We come and we do interventions and we disappear for the next 4 years. So for us sitting here, for the department's representative, the challenge is on us now to tender. Let us go and do needs-based interventions. Thank you.
Thanks. Ms. Tuduzile, before Ingrid closes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my remarks are twofold to the government and the decision makers. Oftentimes when you raise such issues, you are told it's not in our mandate. We wrote that mandate, so maybe it's time we change them and ensure that in every government department, science or not, human or people development is at the center of that. And then I would also like to speak on giving people a young chance. I like the idea of a roundtable, youth roundtable, but also include them in other discussions where you can make sure there's a youth representative there. And then to the young people, I'm one of them. They've been making remarks like the people here are not the youth. To us, the young people, we really are the ones we've been waiting for. We are capable, so we need to do our best. Let's identify the problems, but not just that. Let us be the ones to propose solutions for those. There's many opportunities out there, and for you sitting in this room, you are privy to most of those. So a challenge to you, possibly for next year or as you leave here, bring more people from your community. Maybe the next science forum, the next meeting you attend, take 2 or 3 people from your community who have never been in such spaces. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Ingrid, in closing.
Program director.
Yes, who's speaking?
Excuse me. It is myself.
Order, Chair.
I would like to conclude it in this manner on the responses that came. I've been promised so many things. I went through so many leadership within the country, even President Ramaphosa himself, whereby I suggested and proposed a new economic model I submitted it on 2020 in February. But he never responded. So I'm worried. It will be spoken like the way it is spoken of right now, this idea. But I came with energy, with a belief of something will happen with this one. Now, I'm proposing an action, please. I come from Free State, coming straight for this to see unfold. Now, can there be action rather than promise? Please. I want someone who can just
Thanks.
put themselves on oath, yes, in this.
Ingrid?
Okay. Can I, before I say what I wanted to say, as parting ways, Brother Man at the top, can I challenge you? Yes, you've challenged us. We try to speak to it. Can I challenge you to speak to all of us after the session? Because the moment, when you are speaking right now, you are speaking, yes, you are speaking to us, but almost over us. You don't necessarily know who's adopting it. So the moment you do a one-on-one, which is part of my conclusion, that is where you get to have each individual's undivided attention, and then we are able to interrogate, understand it further. Because now you are mentioning people that are not here, that you have submitted things to. We were not privy, unfortunately we can't comment. So what you would rather do as well, yes, you've posed it to us, but also now come to each individual. That's what I would suggest from my end, and then we can see how we can all help you. And as parting ways, I think what we need to do, my colleagues have already highlighted the bulk of what I would have loved to share. But I want to live with this tagline to say, it's Highland. It's spread across evenly, but the opportunities are not. We all have the talents, but we don't have all the opportunities. And I think how we can answer to the many issues that we are having, where there's impact, where we come, we make impact. The impact is on, our impacts differ again, that's another thing. My impact could be just to train. The next person's impact is to create employment. And literally where I get funding and then I create job employment and then I do internship. There's others who do bursary programs and. If we are to collaborate, we can all do away with this whole thing of coming and do a one-time hit and then I'm done. Let it be that Ingrid comes, I do a skills development program. When I'm done, I already know that I pass them over. There's a program that we do, we pass them over to a Net Campus. Net Campus does international recognized accreditation. Then they also do internship placement. There's the years programs, they have IPs that which they work with. Let's partner in a sense that the ecosystem doesn't necessarily end by benefiting from what I do. Let me pass them over to Usestutu. Usestutu make them our alumni. Now let them speak about what we do. Then Usestutu pass them over to the next person. Let me incubate them. We pass them over. Those that don't want incubation, I know I have partner B who's going to help them with a job placement. And the moment we realize how to build this ecosystem properly and collaborate properly, we would be able to avoid coming alone and doing one thing that I'm good at. Let me come with the other partners that I have, and then we make more impact. I think I'll end there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, colleagues on stage. The audience, let's build a very, very successful ecosystem for us to thrive, for us to succeed. Thank you. Thank you, Program Director. Thank you, everyone. Thanks all.
They want to take a group picture. They want to take you a group picture. Please, before you go, yeah.
Cooperation at the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation.
Thank you very much, Mina. Welcome again to CSR. It's a pleasure to speak here. Just do some small opening remarks. The collaboration that we are seeking to achieve between Japan, South Africa, and the EU will respond, hopefully, to exactly the minister's speech or the mantra that he mentioned yesterday around science being at the center of government, and this is the whole of government, and also being within education or academia, as well as in industry and society. We're hoping that this collaboration will help us to also articulate that in a meaningful way and also assist us in achieving that particular mantra, because placing science at that particular center of every sector of society will help us to translate meaningful achievements in science to be beneficial to the whole of society. I know that the earlier session is already taking some of our time, so I'll be just brief as that, so that at least the presenters can have much more time. Thank you very much, and welcome to the session.
Thank you very much, Mr. Masuka. Next, we will welcome Dr. Vincenzo LaRusso from the Office of the Director General for Research and Innovation at the European Commission. He will be joining us online. Over to you.
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to everybody. I'm really sorry for not being with you in person in Pretoria. Moro, or should I say also, Ohio gozaimasu. It's very timely indeed to have this meeting, and I thank the organizers for involving us in this conversation. I'm very happy to know that indeed the deputy head of the EU delegation to South Africa will be intervening today, with my best regards to my colleague and friend Benjamin. I think I would like to take my time to highlight the fact that we have a multilateral initiative, the African Union, European Union Innovation Agenda, that was politically adopted in July 2023 by ministers of research and innovation of both the African Union and European Union. And this overarching agenda foresees, includes really short, medium and long-term actions across the different priority areas identified jointly in this cooperation, and green transition, including climate change and sustainable energy, and including the partnership on hydrogen, really is part of the ongoing implementation of this agenda. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because indeed there's an opportunity for multilateral cooperation, including non-EU and EU partners, to have their initiatives, their projects that are in line with the objectives and actions of this agenda to be included in what we call the living inventory, the dashboard of the EU Innovation Agenda, which is really an online tool that is progressively growing, in which we include the projects, the programs, the partnerships, the scholarships that are in line with the agenda. And so this is something that we also brought up with my fellow co-chair of the EU Innovation Agenda working group. It's something that we brought up and we shared with Japanese partners, also in the venue of a G7 conference on research and capacity building with Africa, organized under the chairmanship of Italy in October 2024. Hence my plea, indeed, let's discuss in the wake and building on today's timely and important conversation on possibility to do justice to this work that Japan is doing in cooperation with South Africa, for example, that is indeed totally in line with this multilateral African Union, European Union Innovation Agenda, to give that extra visibility to this work and embrace it really in this multilateral agenda, but also in this then reported to forums such as the G7. I would like to conclude on the fact that the partnership on hydrogen is certainly very important for the overall cooperation between the EU and South Africa. We will certainly hear more about it from my colleague Pancho, and it's something that indeed we are hoping and will certainly leverage in the near future as a tool for multilateral cooperation, as part indeed of the mission innovation, which is a multilateral initiative with particular focus on clean hydrogen, in which South Africa will play in the near future increasingly an important role. I'll stop it here, and I wish you very productive deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. LaRusso. Finally, we invite Mr. Masahiro Shibatani, Senior Research Director at the Institute of Energy Economics, Japan.
Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Masahiro Shibatani. I'm manager for international cooperation at Institute of Energy Economics, Japan. It is a great pleasure and honor to convene that this important session on trilateral cooperation for building international hydrogen supply chains among South Africa, Europe, and Japan, together with our colleagues from South Africa and Europe, here at the Science Forum South Africa. Allow me to begin by offering my heartfelt congratulations on the 10th anniversary of Science Forum South Africa. Over the past decade, SFSA has evolved into a distinguished and highly respected platform for international dialogue in science, technology, and innovation. Its role and relevance have grown year by year, and it is profoundly meaningful that this trilateral cooperation is being held during such a significant milestone year. Japan and South Africa signed the Memorandum of Cooperation on hydrogen and ammonia in September 2023. Since then, our two countries have continued to deepen our collaboration through sustained dialogue and close engagement. These developments have been firmly supported by a relationship of mutual trust and by our shared commitment to achieve both decarbonization and economic growth. Today, key partners from South Africa, Europe, and Japan, each playing indispensable roles across hydrogen production, emerging demand, and technological development, are gathered here. By bringing together our respective strengths in policy, technology, and finance, I believe we can gain a clearer and more comprehensive picture of the collaborative pathways needed to build reliable and internationally connected supply chains for clean hydrogen and its derivatives. Through today's discussions, I sincerely hope that our shared understanding of the challenging and opportunities ahead will deepen, and that the dialogue will serve as a concrete step toward the next stage of trilateral cooperation, bringing us closer to the realization of future energy systems that are sustainable, secure, and globally integrated. In closing, I wish to express my deep appreciation to our South African colleagues for their tremendous dedication in preparing this session. I look forward to fruitful and inspiring discussion today, and I thank you all for your participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shibatani. Please note that we are going to be having a group photo session immediately after our workshop at 11:05, just outside the entrance on the grass area where we took a picture yesterday. At this point, we will now move into the trilateral discussion. It is my pleasure to hand over to the moderator for the session, Dr. Kabarendwe Rambao, Acting Director for Hydrogen and Energy at the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation. Kaba, over to you.
Good morning, Ohio, Gandhi Deska. I practiced a lot to say that, so I'm glad this time I managed to get it. Welcome to the trilateral discussion session, where we'll be focusing on discussion points around the multilateral cooperation and also on the MOC between SA and Japan. And the discussion points will be focusing on challenges and solutions in the building of international hydrogen supply chains, discussion on public-private sector cooperation on clean hydrogen and derivatives, and looking into opportunities for joint demonstration and collaboration research among South Africa, Japan, and Europe. The first speaker of the day will be Professor Mishi Saiden, who is an associate professor in economics at Nelson Mandela University. And they will be focusing on the policy direction on hydrogen and the international frameworks required to establish international supply chains. With that, I would like to welcome Professor Mishi Saiden.
Thank you so much for the welcome. And it's a privilege that I have an opportunity to make a quick presentation on this particular topic. In a few minutes, so I'm going to provide a high-level kind of talk, then we can have engagements later on. So first, as said, I'm going to be looking at South African policy direction on green hydrogen. So a quick summary is that we have the Hydrogen Society Roadmap 2022, then the Green Hydrogen Commercialization Strategy of South Africa, starting 2023, and that Energy Transition Investment Implementation Plan. And you will see that these are not in isolation. They are built on the foundation of the National Development Plan, which already advocates for transition to low carbon, diversified energy mix, and also the South African Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, moving from COVID-19 times for the development of new industries for job creation and economic growth. So if we're talking about green hydrogen, we also anticipate the development of new industries, and that is why I highlight the South African Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan. But over time, you see that from as far back as 1998, with the white paper on energy policy, which sets the 5 objectives, including diversifying South Africa's energy mix with renewable energy, hydrogen, fuel cell technology. So the story starts long back. It's not a recent kind of discussion going to white paper on renewable energy policy with an increased renewable energy contribution of energy mix as well. But again, to pass it forward as well is to look, for example, up to 2019, having the green transport strategy for South Africa, deployment of electric vehicles and including hydrogen fuel cell powered vehicles to decarbonize the transport sector, showing how the different sectors are also being brought to link with the hydrogen strategy, and the Hydrogen Society Roadmap also drawing from this particular policy framework as well. And we're talking about the South African Renewable Energy Master Plan as well, to develop the local renewable energy and storage value chain, aiming to create jobs and position the country as a clean energy hub. And that is also where partnerships really play a very critical role as well, as we open up the value chain system there. And the introduction of a tax incentive also providing really tax deduction investment in electric hydrogen powered vehicle production. And I'm going to highlight some of the critical aspects in a moment as well. All right, so if you look at the hydrogen strategy globally, just very much in general, it can be categorized into 5: hydrogen hubs, research and development, innovation, focus strategy, hydrogen production, and science reduction, then fuel requirements, the certification, ports, pipelines, exports, logistics, etc. Is noted there. Then when we go to a critical area also on research and development and really human capacity development, it is a matter of also looking at what will be the strategy in the short term to long term. And here we look at short term, medium term, and long term kind of strategies as well. So from a skilling point of view, the skills, there's a gap in skills if you look at the skills requirements within the hydrogen sector. So for the success of the sector requires that kind of collaboration to be able to develop the skills. As we're talking about the specialists in thermal, alkaline, electrolyzer design, technicians for hydrogen, which allows also the localization, the manufacturing of electrolyzers locally, if such kind of skills are then built up locally. Then also goes on to media skills for biomass gasification, indigenous electrolyzer manufacturing is an indicated area, and we look at the long term. I just put on the side there some of the projects and the kind of technology anticipated to use and capacity nodes. Then when we look at a summary of the policy direction, institutional premise, opportunity for public-private cooperation. Again, we're building from the hydrogen society roadmap with the 500,000 tons per year kind of projected production. And it's a matter of assessing the grid readiness and water footprint, but building on expansive land, renewable energy abundance as well, that, we talk about wind and sun energy that is abundant in South Africa, which provides a good opportunity then to be tapped into for greater production and meeting the international market, and that collaboration then with also Japan and European Union becomes very critical. Relative to any stage in terms of framework and there's always room for continuous alignment of efforts, but we see that it's diverse and it's clear enabling policies and national strategies as I've outlined earlier on. Then the hydrogen value concept as well, showing that opportunity for public-private cooperation, which can then be enhanced with the kind of skills requirements that I was talking about, to say that how do we then get the skilling and reskilling of the necessary skills that are required. So areas of collaboration and partnership around research and development, skilling, investment and financing as well, mobilizing real resources. I talk about the tax policy in accommodating investment, which becomes also very critical in that space. The standardization and certification allows also then tapping and settling fully within the international market. I'm focusing on the red aspect of South Africa, but I provide just some context on my notes on the areas of Japan and Europe. I want to speak on them, but I wanted to just provide some context there.
Sorry, Professor, we have 1 minute left. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm already on the last slide there. So I summarize here the partnership areas from the production, hydrogen, ammonia, and fuel imports from South Africa, Japan, and Europe to sort of to as a fair market, and also the world. I'm not going to go one by one, but it's clearly summarized on this particular slide. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you for also sticking to the time. I would also request for the upcoming speakers also to stick to 10 minutes. And I'm directing this specifically to someone that I know who's going to come next. If you see me walking in, that means you have 1 minute left. So please stick to the time. Our next speaker will be our Professor Sampson, who is the head of the DSTI Energy Secretariat, and he will be focusing his talk around what the government, specifically the DSTI, is doing in order to support the hydrogen economy. Thank you.
Thanks, Kava. You're doing exactly what I did to others yesterday. Now you're returning it to me. This presentation was put together this morning. So if I put up the slide and I say something else, listen to me. I'll be talking about South Africa's hydrogen, about the Hydrogen South Africa program and collaboration opportunities. But first, I would like to talk about the global context, which most of us know. We have the geopolitical tensions that are reshaping the global STI, and that is leading to the increased focus on self-sufficiency and development of our own locally developed kind of IP. And then we have tech disruptions that is redefining competitiveness. And we have the trade wars, the tariffs. I'm not going to mention names. I was instructed not to do so, but we know. And then we have climate and health challenges, that they reinforces the science, technology, and innovation's role in resilience and access. We have issues around foreign aid cuts and that health threaten the health and research services. And then we have, but all these bring up opportunities for innovation and opportunities for collaboration, new collaboration opportunities that come up because of all this. The previous speaker talked about some of the policies and strategies that were developed by the South African government that affect the hydrogen economy. I'm not going to repeat what he presented, the Hydrogen Society Roadmap, the commercialization, the green hydrogen commercialization strategy, the skills development part that he touched on, the hydrogen valley that he talked about as well. I just need to add that with the hydrogen valley, we have something that we call Project Rainbow, which is expanding or starting to implement part of the hydrogen valley in terms of creation of the hydrogen hubs, bringing in the trucks that need to start moving around that the corridor that we have developed in the country. So work is taking place there. There are regional hydrogen strategies. The eThekwini municipality has developed a regional hydrogen strategy as well. These are very, very important. We are also moving towards provincial hydrogen strategies. For instance, as the DSTI and SANEDI, we've supported the development of the Eastern Cape Green Hydrogen Strategy that is now being finalized in terms of going through the various processes. The Just Energy Transition Investment Plan, the previous speaker talked about it. We need a lot of money to implement this particular plan, over 300 billion rands that we will need to implement it. The Gas Master Plan that was developed by DEE is also very much relevant in this particular space. In terms of the Hydrogen South Africa program, this is a program that was funded by government for more than 15 years. More than 1.5 billion rands has been spent on the program in terms of the actual research and development initiatives. And it's got 3 sub-programs, HISA catalysis, HISA systems, and HISA infrastructure. So all the strategies that we came up with, they came at the back of this particular program. So it was this program that basically did quite a lot of work that gave rise to the Hydrogen Society Roadmap, the green hydrogen commercialization strategies, and other strategies that we developed as a country. And with HISA catalysis, we're looking at the development of materials, components, and units in the early part of the fuel cell. We're looking at stacks as well as electrolyzer catalysts. and membrane electrode assemblies, ISA systems. Basically, this is systems integration of the various systems. You're looking at things like hydrogen fueled vehicles, metal hydride materials and technologies, and then HISA infrastructure that is looking at bringing together the infrastructure from building the infrastructure using the components from HISA catalysis and HISA systems. This is some of the work that we're doing through HISA catalysis. So we start with the catalyst synthesis, ink formulation, MEA fabrication, testing and validation, and the MEAs that we're making are both for electrolyzers and for the fuel cells. And the catalysts are made by Mintech, and then UCT goes through this particular process to make the MEAs. We make world-class MEAs that we've been selling all over the world. We know that those MEAs are going to now assist us as a country as we grow the hydrogen economy. This is just an indication of some of the testing and validation that we did with the MEAs that we have developed. In terms of ISA systems, like I indicated, you've got fuel cell vehicles, you've got various components that are developed, metal hydride storage facilities, and things like that. So we've got actual systems that the program is developing. This is a power module, for instance, that was developed by ISA systems that you can put in anything. You can put it on a forklift, you can put on a vehicle, you can put on anything that you want to power using the hydrogen. And we've got forklifts that are running on this in one of the mines as well. In terms of ISA infrastructure, we deal with hydrogen production, hydrogen storage, and also the application side of things. Key to note here, since we have our Japanese delegation, is the SATREPS program that we're working with Japan, and also the work that we're doing with Toyota, where we started doing working on refueling stations that are following international standards that we have developed. Working with Toyota, we've got the Toyota Mirai that goes there and do the refueling of the hydrogen using the refueling stations that we developed in this particular program. And those refueling stations are going to be very key and critical when we start developing the hydrogen hubs. So we're looking at expanding this work and then starting with the creation or the development of the mini hubs using this technology that we have developed. Funding has already been made available to do localization, more localization of the components and things like that, so that we can then start with the Hydrogen Valley hubs. This is at Northwest University, and you can see the Toyota Mirai there and the refueling stations that we have in the program. Okay, and then we're doing work with the Minerals Council on the internal combustion engines for hydrogen. We just started with this work now. We're busy with the feasibility study. The idea is to basically look at the feasibility of using converting some of the mining equipment and mining vehicles, both above ground and underground, into to run on hydrogen. So from the DSTI and SANEDI point of view, we are providing funding for the feasibility study, and then the Minerals Council and their various partners will be coming in terms of the actual equipment that will be converted to run on green hydrogen. This is also an exciting kind of work. We're looking at about 24 weeks to conclude the feasibility study, and then we'll go into the actual implementation. There's quite a number of mines, as you can see there, that are participating in this program. This is going to be, in our view, one of the catalytic projects in the country. This is the last slide, and I see the program director has not yet started working towards me, so I'm doing well in terms of time. This is the Coal CO22X program that we are running, supported through the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation and through the Energy Secretariat at SANEDI, where we're basically taking the flue gases from coal-fired boilers and then we convert them into useful products. You can see there we're converting CO2 into fertilizer salts and other products. But the interesting part is that we're using green hydrogen that we're producing through our Hydrogen South Africa program to basically power the system, and we're also doing green ammonia production, and also we have the production of green diesel in the process. Lastly, I see Ashton is here. I must mention the work that he's doing at the CSIR here on production of Tecos hydrogen using biogas. So we also have that kind of work taking place, and you can see there are plenty of opportunities for collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Right now, we're going to move to the next session where the European representative will be presenting. And we will start off with Mr. Garrido Ruiz. I hope I pronounced it properly. The Deputy Head of Delegation to South Africa from the European Union. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much to the program director. She pronounced my name beautifully. Thank you. Let me first of all wish you a good morning to all of you, and to thank foremost the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation and our Japanese colleagues for the organization of this event, and of course the Council of Research and of Science and Industrial Research for hosting us together. I would like to make 4 points, and I will try to be I'll try to be brief. My first point is that the European Union sees an enormous potential for trilateral cooperation between the European Union, South Africa, and Japan. And this, we think that we can build around a very solid foundation that converges around a number of issues. The first one is multilateralism, democracy, and human rights. We also converge around decarbonization. All of us, we have net zero targets by 2050. We also converge around energy security and affordability, moving away from fossil fuels and onto renewable energy. And we also converge around competitiveness, job creation, and economic growth. So we think that all these elements provide a lot of opportunities to set a very solid foundation for our collaboration trilaterally. My second point is that it is important that we stay the course and that we make long-term structural decisions. I would like to share a quote with you. It goes like this: mighty economic areas have arisen around us. If Europe fails to keep pace, the danger is not that we shall be relegated to a lesser place, but that we shall be completely eliminated. And this quote is from Walter Hallstein, the first president of the European Commission, back in 1958. And despite the passage of 60 years, we feel that these challenges, again, are there. And not only for Europe, these are challenges felt by many countries and many areas. And I mention this because in Europe we are absolutely clear that there's no backtracking in the energy and the green transition. We believe that affordability and competitiveness can go hand in hand with decarbonization. And this is not for ideological reasons, it is for logical reasons. Take affordability. From 2021 to 2023, European electricity consumers save around 100 billion euro thanks to electricity generation from installed solar and wind capacity. And take competitiveness. The European Union has demonstrated that it can combine energy decarbonization and economic growth. In absolute terms, greenhouse gas emissions dropped 37% compared to 1990 levels, while the GDP of the European Union increased by 68% over the same period. So emissions can go down and the GDP can go up. So we need to drive on because the world is moving faster than ever on the clean energy. And last year, global spending on clean energy reached a record height of $2 trillion. This means that for every dollar invested in fossil fuels, $2 were invested in renewable energy. And we need to run strong on the different lanes of the clean tech race, whether it's wind, whether it's heat pumps, or whether it's hydrogen, including electrolyzers. To put it simply, we need to deliver on decarbonization because decarbonization delivers. My third point is that we need to lower the cost of capital. With renewable energy costs continuing to fall, reducing the cost of capital is a high priority, and this is all the more true for developing countries and emerging economies. Across the board, what we see is that the cost of green energy projects in Africa is expected to be high, averaging 15.5% in high interest. What we do in the European Union is to step in and lower these capital costs in coordination and together with our member states, such as Germany and the Netherlands. And let me give you an example. We are working with the Netherlands in the South Africa Hydrogen Fund. It's called SAH2 Fund, supporting the HIVE project. This is a project designated a strategic integrated project by the government of South Africa, and it will set up the first ever green ammonia plant in South Africa, in the Eastern Cape, in Kucha, with capacity to produce 1 million tons of green ammonia annually and to create in between 11,000 and 13,000 jobs. The European Union in this project invests in the riskiest areas of project development, where access to finance is difficult. And by addressing these market failures, we help bring the projects from development to operation. We do this by mobilizing Global Gateway. This is Europe's external investment program that in South Africa focuses on clean value chains, strategic value chains, and in particular on green hydrogen. And with these Global Gateway investments, we provide a source of funding for projects development phase. We leverage capital from the private sector for the construction phase, and we take a comprehensive approach to investments that also focuses on the ecosystem around those plants, whether it's SME development or infrastructure or transmission, etc. HIVE is a project where Japan is also invested, and we are engaging together to explore how best we can coordinate our mutual efforts for mutual benefit. And this is a very good example of trilateral cooperation that we are very willing to continue engaging together. And my third and last point is the need for regulatory certainty. Investors planning for large-scale projects with a lifespan of 20 years and more will need clarity and certainty, whether it's on clear rules for eligibility of incentives for early mover projects, whether it's on carbon pricing or on permitting and approvals. These are all bottlenecks, particularly for large-scale projects. These projects do not need any more innovation. What they need is timely approvals, clarity on eligibility, and access to fast-track permitting pathways. Last week, the European Union and South Africa concluded a clean trade and investment partnership, the first of its generation. We will sign others with other strategic emerging economies. But this new partnership that we concluded last week with South Africa will create new trade and investment opportunities in clean supply chains, including clean fuel and green hydrogen, and will also serve as a forum for regulatory cooperation between the European Union and South Africa. So let me conclude by saying that this convergence that we have between South Africa, the European Union, and Japan, the strategic direction that we can give to strategic projects, the investments that we are providing with focus, scale, and impact, and the policy tools that we can bring for regulatory cooperation opens boundless opportunities for cooperation between Europe, Japan, and South Africa, and we are very willing to make the most of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Garrido. I think one of the things that resonated with me was reducing the cost of capital, which is the reason why such as platforms as this are very important in terms of strengthening partnerships. Now, the second presenter from Europe will be coming from Flanders, and they will be presenting on Europe's perspective on clean hydrogen and ammonia, highlighting infrastructure readiness, certification, and logistics integration. I would like to welcome Dr. Nicholas van der Weerwe, Deputy General Representative of Flanders in Southern Africa.
Thank you, and good morning. And you actually said it correctly. I always say that to pronounce my surname, it's quite difficult, but everybody knows Justin Bieber. So you just say Van der Weerwe, just like Justin Bieber. But I won't sing today, don't worry. First of all, I would like to thank, like my colleague from the EU delegation, the DSTI and the Japanese delegation for organizing this, and of course, CSR for hosting us today. It's always such a pleasure and good to be here. Now, I won't be speaking on what our moderator said. I'll speak on something quite different, similar but different, but on Flanders as a hydrogen hub. And my main message today is quite clear. Flanders, the region whose government I represent, is determined to take the lead in Europe's hydrogen transition by driving innovation and world-class infrastructure. And the Port of Antwerp-Bruges, which will be the second part of my talk, is ready. It stands as more than just a gateway. It's a vital energy hub at the heart of Europe, and it will hopefully power Europe's decarbonization and climate ambitions. Now, first of all, and if you could please go to the next slide, what is Flanders? I always have to, I can do it myself? Sure, if you want to.
This one is back.
Okay, front. Got it. Okay. So what is Flanders? A little context is in place, I think. So Flanders is not a country, it is a region in Belgium. Belgium is a country. It's the northernmost region of Belgium and the Dutch-speaking region of Belgium as well. And as you can see, it has a coastline. The coastline is only 67 kilometers long, so it's a very short coastline, but we're home to some world-class ports, one of which I will be talking today. Now, Flanders also has a hydrogen strategy, of course, and the context is that hydrogen, we see it as a cornerstone to our energy transition and our deep industrial decarbonization. Our ambition, as I said, is to become a leader, a European leader in hydrogen technology and infrastructure in alignment with the policy goals of the EU. So I think the most important one is the European Green Deal. That means we have to be a climate-neutral continent. And we don't have to be. We want to be a climate-neutral continent by 2050. And by 2030, which is in a good 5 years, we want to reduce our emissions by 55%. But the other goal is and all other policy is a clean industrial deal. And this is also what my colleague Pencho mentioned, is to combine the green transition with industrial competitiveness, which is very important to us. But we believe that our strategic location at the heart of Europe, combined with our infrastructure, which is in place, makes us this essential hub to make this possible. Now, our hydrogen strategy has two pillars. First of all, it's research and innovation, which surprisingly at a scientific forum I will not speak about today, but I will speak about the second pillar, which is industrial deployment. And this is to use hydrogen as a large-scale decarbonization of our industrial processes, especially in sectors that are hard to abate, such as steel, chemicals, refining, cement, and basic materials. But very important, we cannot lose our competitiveness. So how do we do this? By an energy mix approach. Quite simple. First of all, we try to increase our energy efficiency and circularity first. Second of all, maximize direct electrification. But where you can't electrify or it's insufficient, we will use hydrogen, or we will look at hydrogen as one of the sources to help achieve our carbon neutrality. Now, hydrogen, I don't have to explain this to you, is a resource for high temperature industrial processes energy storage. We see it as a buffer to store surplus renewable energy and a carrier of renewable energy. But the transition path is we want to be green, yes, but as a long-term goal. If we have to take steps in the way, as in using blue hydrogen, pink hydrogen as stepping stones, this is something that we also would like to take into account. And I know there's a new Renewable Energy Directive by the EU, published by the EU, which says that 42% of all hydrogen in industry in the EU should be renewable. But this, for a region like Flanders, is quite difficult to achieve because we just lack the capacity to produce ourselves, or we can't produce it cheap enough. So that's why I think our combined governments of Belgium have asked the EU to be a bit more lenient, but we'll get there. That's what we want to say. So where do the ports come in? As I said, Flanders is home to a few world-class ports, one of which is the port of Antwerp-Bruges, which is on the top of the map here. And I use this pointer. There we go. This is the port of Antwerp-Bruges. You have Antwerp, and you, of course, have Bruges. It's a merger port, but it's combined. It's the second largest port in Europe, and it's very interesting to know as well, and important for the hydrogen story, it's Europe's largest integrated petrochemical cluster. It's the second largest cluster, petrochemical cluster in the world, next, apart from Houston, Texas. What makes this port so interesting and strategic is that it's at the heart of the EU industrial corridors. Flanders, Belgium, is smack in the middle of the Netherlands, France, Germany, so it's very close to the port of Rotterdam as well, and close to the industrial heartland of Germany, the Rhine-Ruhr area. And it serves 40% of EU industry. So it's an important hub in a cross-border European hydrogen market. And the port of Antwerp-Bruges, and especially the platform of Bruges, is responsible for 15% of European gas imports. That's one out of 8, actually, and especially for Germany. So the ambition of the port is in line with the ambition of Flanders, is to become a key hydrogen hub for Europe, a leading port for import, production, and distribution hub for green hydrogen and its derivatives, such as ammonia and methanol. Now, the advantages of such a large petrochemical cluster, which is in the port, is that you have a guarantee of stable supply of feedstock, raw materials, and intermediates. There's outstanding tank storage, bunkering facilities, handling, and pipeline connectivity. Basically, what I want to say to you today is that the infrastructure is there. We just have to make sure that it's ready for hydrogen as well. And this excellent pipelines, and I want to show you this by showing you the network of existing pipelines, is that it links the port of Antwerp-Bruges to other industrial zones, such as the port of Rotterdam, where you have accessibility to larger vessels, because, of course, it's a river port, an estuary port, the port of Antwerp-Bruges, so you can't access with the largest of vessels, and especially Germany, the industrial heartland of Germany. So how can we do this? Because it's all nice and talk, but how can we do this? And I know, we have to be honest, compared to a few years ago, there's more pessimism about hydrogen. There are a lot of projects, we do realize that, but a lot of these projects are in stages before final investment decisions. So how do you pay for it? In Flanders, that's why we believe, our goal is that, yes, we would like to invest, we will invest, but it's not just import and end usage, but for us, it's also about transit. There's already enough capacity to do this. It's more than a projected demand in Flanders, in Belgium, and we see our role as a supplier, as a distributor. And it benefits our neighbors, it benefits Europe, it benefits the world as well. Although, and I would like to point this out, I think some is on the map as well, so there are existing hydrogen pipelines. It's operated by companies, private companies such as Air Liquide. These are private, not open access, and they, at the moment, lack the capacity for large-scale volumes. But it would just be a matter of increasing it, getting the private sector on board. But also the public sector, in Belgium, we're also working on this. Fluxys, as the operator and regulator of the hydrogen network in Belgium, Flanders, is constructing at this very moment an open access pipeline. So connecting Antwerp to Bruges, because you see that's a missing link at the moment, to the Rhine-Ruhr area. And this pipeline will link the port of Antwerp-Bruges with North Sea Port, which you see here at Terneuzen. It's over there. and it's actually an international port. It's a Dutch-Belgian port, and it will link it to that port as well. To link it up. And while we are building this, the lesson learned for us to de-risk it is that what you build today still needs to be multifunctional. It still needs to be flexible and flexible to act as an intermediary phase. Now, we have over 1,000 pipelines in Flanders. I see the moderator coming up, but I'm just going to use my time. And why is this important? This pipeline is in the process because at the port, at North Sea Port, you have a plant of ArcelorMittal Belgium in Ghent, which is a potential huge off-taker for hydrogen. It's a steel mill at the moment producing high-quality steel products, and at this moment it's still powered by coal, but it could work on hydrogen for DRI steel. And just imagine this, and now I'll wrap up after this. Just imagine this. The plant in Ghent alone emits around 6 to 7 million tons of CO2 annually under current operation, which means that this plant is responsible for 5 to 6% of Belgium's total emission. I'm talking about Belgium, not just Flanders. So to allow de-risking, we ask that you help potential off-takers and end users with legislation and policies, allow the use as well of blue, pink hydrogen, for instance, and combined with facilities such as carbon capture, utilization, and carbon capture and storage, you could have near net zero energy usage today. And here's a wild idea. Saldanha Bay also has a steel mill by ArcelorMittal, which you all know. Saldanha now exports over 96% of all iron ore in South Africa. So why don't we, for instance, produce direct reduced iron ore in Saldanha, export it to Flanders, and turn it into green steel in Ghent? This way you could have local beneficiation for South Africa, production with locally produced hydrogen in South Africa, and you keep your jobs in Flanders. So you have both local beneficiation and industrial competitiveness in Flanders. And actually, there has been a study just 2 weeks ago, I think, published a study for a green corridor for iron ore, linking Saldanha Bay to Rotterdam, and of course the port of Antwerp-Bruges as well, because they're so close. And that could be operational by 2029. So I want to say it is being done. It's possible. I won't have time to go into the hydrogen roadmap for the port of Antwerp-Bruges, but I just want to highlight, and then I will really wrap up because the moderator is going to kill me if I keep on talking, I think. Just 2 weeks ago, and this is my message as well, we are busy, we are ready, we are willing. Just 2 weeks ago, Air Liquide, the same company that has this private hydrogen pipeline, constructed the first ever industrial-scale ammonia cracker in the port of Antwerp-Bruges with the support of our government. Of course, you need this to then make hydrogen again. And this is another one project in the chemical cluster, INEOS, Project 1 it's called. They made a state-of-the-art ethane steam cracker, which is actually the largest petrochemical investment in Europe for over 2 decades, with a cost exceeding 4 billion euros. And it is expected to be operational in 2026. So to conclude, I just want to say that we are ready. I think the EU is full of support of this as well. We are ready to become a major hub. And we look forward to doing business and receiving all those vessels and helping clean our industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I am happy to hear that already low-hanging fruits are being identified for possible collaborations. So we're going to move to the next session, which will be focusing on Japan. And the theme is Initiative Towards Building International Hydrogen Supply. And our first speaker is Dr. Murakami Shinichi, who is an Assistant Director for Hydrogen and Ammonia Division, Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy Department at the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, or METI. Welcome, Doctor. Oh, there you are.
To move it. Okay. This one is back, this is forward, and then this is the point. I see. Back. Sorry, how to back? Okay. Hello, my name is Shinichi Murakami from Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, MITI. It's a great honor to speak at this here, and I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to DSTI, IEJ, or other organizations support this event. I also appreciate our trilateral partnership with South Africa and EU. Today I will talk about our Japan's hydrogen policy. First, I would like to explain why we place such emphasis on hydrogen. As you know, no energy source is perfect. Fossil fuels, renewable energy, nuclear power, all energy resources and fuels have their own advantages and disadvantages. Safety, stability, cost, and decarbonization all have to be met continuously and simultaneously with the right balance. Hydrogen stands out as a critical energy resource that can provide solutions even in sectors where decarbonization has traditionally been considered difficult. That's why we place emphasis on hydrogen. Sorry. This one is forward. It's going to move you forward, and then this is just two points.
And this is back?
Yeah.
I see. Thank you. Well, let me introduce our green transformation three principles. Japan is actively promoting its green transformation, we call it GX strategy, to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. GX is guided by three principles. First, triple breakthrough, achieving energy security, economic growth, and emissions reductions simultaneously. Second, one goal, various pathways, recognizing that each country will pursue the common goal of net zero through diverse approaches suited to its unique circumstances. Third, solution to the world. Japan will reduce its own emissions to zero and also contribute to global decarbonization through our technology, finance, and the human resources. Here's Japan's hydrogen policy trends. Hydrogen plays a central role in our GX strategy. Japan formulated the world's first basic hydrogen strategy in 2017 and launched a large-scale innovation fund to accelerate technology development. Our target is to expand hydrogen supply to 20 million tons by 2050. Last year, we enacted the Hydrogen Society Promotion Act, introducing two major support measures. Let me introduce those measures. First one is contract for difference, or we call it CFD support measures, which focusing on the price gap between low-carbon hydrogen and fossil fuels. It provides 15 years of support for projects that integrate both suppliers and users of low-carbon hydrogen. And it requires an additional 10 years of operation to ensure a self-sustaining supply chain and significant CO2 reductions. Second one is the Hydrogen Hub Development Program, supporting capital investment for infrastructure in regions with high hydrogen demand. By providing investment support for shared facilities such as tanks and pipelines used by multiple companies, we aim to enable large-scale use of low-carbon hydrogen. Through those safety support and this program, we will accelerate pioneering hydrogen projects.
Here's the progress of the support measures. I will now the application period for the Hub Development Program closed at the end of June. For CFD support, we received 27 applications by the March deadline, far exceeding the $20 billion budget. In September, we announced the first 2 selected projects, both excellent examples of local production for local consumption. This fiscal year, we continue implementing such projects step by step. I would now like to explain the first approved project. This Toyota Tsusho will produce 1,060 tons of green hydrogen annually for green steel production. Electricity from an onshore wind power plant will power water electrolysis at Aichi Steel's Chita power plant, and the hydrogen will be used in heating furnaces during steel processing. The second project is led by Resonac, which is the chemical makers in Japan, will gasify waste plastics and discarded clothings to produce over 3,000 tons of hydrogen annually. This hydrogen will be converted into 20,000 tons of ammonia for synthetic fiber production. Resonac will also use the ammonia derivatives as fiber raw materials, aiming to recycle resources into clean synthetic fibers. Both projects enhance Japan's energy self-sufficiency and decarbonize hard-to-abate industries. We also advance in technological development to build a hydrogen supply chain across 3 key areas: production, transport, and utilization. This includes water electrolysis, membrane systems, liquefied hydrogen carriers, storage tanks, and technologies for mobility and power generation. Beyond 3 core technologies, driving innovation for large-scale hydrogen use is essential, we think. Then I'd like to highlight key points from the chair's summary of the Hydrogen Energy Minister meeting held in September. I appreciate that both EU and South Africa visit Japan and attend this minister meeting. First, steady progress. Over 500 projects have reached FID or are operational, with $110 billion in committed investments, while only 50 were cancelled in the past 18 months. Second is demand creation. Building an international hydrogen supply chain to reduce costs and enhance stability is essential. As more countries become consumers of hydrogen, global demand will be nurtured. To achieve this, concrete actions from each country are necessary, including integrated policy of support and regulatory development. Japan's policy is distinguished by its stability as well as its effort to enhance the feasibility and predictability. We will continue to promote the expansion of hydrogen and ammonia utilization in emerging markets. Thank you for attention. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to move to the next speaker, who will be the last Japanese speaker. I'll move to Dr. Okumura Naoki, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Mitsubishi Power Africa. And I will then be handing over to the next moderator, who will be Dr. Shibata Yoshiaka from the Institute of Energy Economics and Japan. Welcome, Dr. Okumura.
this one goes back. This one moves
Oh,
forward.
move forward.
And
Okay.
then this one is a point.
Okay. Which? Oh. Hmm? Good morning, everybody. My name is Naoki Okumura. Thank you very much this opportunity giving us to introduce Japanese technology and collaboration with the South Africa and Europe. Today, I'd like to explain what Mitsubishi Heavy Industries has done and what we will do in Africa. But before I start my explanation, I would like to introduce our company as MHI. We started our activities here in South Africa since 2014 to building the power station for coal-fired power station in Medupi and Kusile, 6 units of 800 megawatt, 2 sites, so total 9.6 gigawatt as a coal. As a successor of Hitachi Power. And since that time, we're building our power station to ESCOM. And the last September 2025, we had handed over 4 power stations to ESCOM. So I believe that our technology will contribute to the South African economy. And thanks to ESCOM and thanks to all of the South African partners and people. So I believe those power stations would contribute to the South African economy and no load shedding, I hope. So today I will explain. Oh, yeah. First, a little bit explain what MHI and later on our footprint in Africa. Sorry. Oh, okay. In summary, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, we call MHI, producing and engineering for any kind of infrastructure from land, in sea, in the sky, and in space. For example, power station inland, and at the sea, shipbuilding, and oil and gas rigs, and in sky, of course, aviation and aircraft, and in space, rocket and satellite. So any kind of infrastructure we could assist. And in this South Africa, we had so many delivered our power station, not only for in South Africa, but also the sub-Saharan countries in Africa. As for the hydrogen world, so we call it hydrogen value chain, from the top to the bottom. We covered the whole area of the hydrogen supply chain, value chain, from the production and transportation and consumption. In any field of the hydrogen value chain, we had a technology from, for example, the production. We had a partner of the Hydrogen Pro in Europe, and not only for the alkaline AEC technology, but also we are also developing the SOEC, solid oxide electrolyzed cell. So that is one example of the production of the hydrogen and transport. We've been building the shipbuilding and the consumption. We had a steel metal manufacturer as parameters. And of course, we are delivering so many power stations. And they are almost ready for the hydrogen burning. In order for us to validate this,
don't hold it, just press it.
oh. We have set up our validation facilities in Japan, just next to our factory, Takasago. We call it Takasago Hydrogen Park. This park contains of the production, like here, so many hydrogen production system we are building and installing. And then transportation and storage, and finally utilization of the hydrogen. We had two types of the hydrogen ready, a gas turbine there in Takasago Hydrogen Park. And as for the smaller size of the hydrogen turbine, around 40 megawatt, it's ready for burning 100% of the hydrogen. And the bigger size of the hydrogen turbine, around 500 to 600 megawatt, will be ready for 30% mixed combustion of the hydrogen. So if you have any chances to come to Japan, and if you have a time to come to our factory, Takasago, then we are pleased to introduce our facilities. So the last one, what we've done in South Africa, as I said, we have so many footprint in sub-Saharan countries, and especially in here, the South Africa, ESCOM is our loyal customer. But most of the footprint here in sub-Saharan countries is based on the coal or gas. So not only for this technology for coal and gas, we are shifting from those carbon or fossil fuel based to the hydrogen power stations. So, and we are ready to provide this kind of technology for the African countries, of course, including here in South Africa. So we are almost ready, and it is a time to change from the coal to the hydrogen. Okay, thank you very much, your audience, and that's all from my side presentation.
Thank you very much, Okumura-san. Now we're moving to the discussion session. My name is Yoshiaki Shibata from the Institute of Energy Economics Japan, IEJ. Let me serve as a moderator for the next discussion session. So could you, 6 distinguished speakers, could you please come up to the podium? I think one of the distinguished speakers, Professor Mishi, are you joining online? Can you hear me? Okay, anyway, could you please come up to the podium? So the other, yeah. So we had a very, we heard a lot of, the presentation has ranged from the, that covers a lot of topics, ranging from the, how the cooperation between public and private is very important to develop the international hydrogen or local hydrogen supply chains, And also, technology development is very important, and some international activities are going on between the EU and Africa, South Africa, and also Japan. And quite interesting activities in Flanders. And from Japan side, and very interesting policy initiatives, and from the private sector, I think there's a lot of activities. But today's discussion points are challenging and solutions in building international hydrogen supply chain. This is one topic. And the other is public-private cooperation on clean hydrogen and derivatives like ammonia, and opportunities for joint demonstrations and collaboration research among South Africa and Europe and Japan. This is 3 topics. But before our discussion, I think we need some questions from audience. So I think I can receive a couple of questions from audience. If does anybody have questions or comment for the distinguished speakers? No? No question? Okay. Oh, okay. So yes, please. So could you please introduce yourself and to whom you have a question to?
My name is Mbangiseni from DSTI.
Yes, thank you.
I've got a question on the existing pipelines. How long are these pipelines? Because it's very interesting to understand that you can transport hydrogen using pipelines. How long are these? I'm trying to find out, is there any length of saying you can't transport hydrogen for about 20 kilometers or at a certain area, or just maybe in the surrounding area? Because it's quite interesting. I think it's a good lesson, especially from our side, to also learn around those pipelines, because transportation of hydrogen, I think some OEMs have said it's a very big challenge around that. My second question also goes to I think the first speaker from Europe, I didn't write that one. I think you spoke of some trilateral, which is really good, Japan, South Africa, and Europe, which is really great to hear that. But I didn't hear the time frame that you are looking at to say when will this be sort of what they're looking at in terms of us getting to the ground or us working together. I don't know whether you said infrastructure is not an issue, but we can do that. Thanks.
Thank you. So first question goes to Mr. Beaver. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Yes. Oh. Oh, no.
This one, yes, wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for the support. So your question on the pipelines, first of all, I have to say I am a doctor, but I'm a doctor of literature. So I'm not an expert in hydrogen at all. So I cannot tell you how safe it is to transport hydrogen. So that's something I won't be able to do. I can tell you the total length of pipelines that is existing at this moment in Flanders is 1,000 kilometers. It's a lot. So we have the benefit, and if you compare this to South Africa, we have this existing infrastructure that has been there for 50, 60 years, has been renewed, obviously. So that's the benefit. And for us, it's straightforward to add another line. So on these corridors, you just add a line for hydrogen. I think the question is not about infrastructure. For us, it's about the supply still, and of course, for the suppliers, it's about offtake. I know this as well. So I hope I can have answered your question there.
Thank you. So second question goes to Dr. Fulgencio.
Okay, maybe a few points, because I think there's a lot to unpack from your question. The first point, perhaps, is that we live in paradoxical times. In a way, if you look at the markets, there has never been more funding, more money. It's our markets are awash with it. But at the same time, it's getting harder to access to it. And that speaks to the geopolitical and geoeconomic context in which we are living in. A world where more and more, and I think that's going to be a static on the screen, investments are gonna be more difficult to get by, just because of the security context worldwide. But at the same time, that means that there will be opportunities for investments to move around. And they will go where the business case is. The investments will go there what it makes sense to invest. And they will diversify, clearly. And in that diversification of investments, South Africa has all the elements, all the ingredients to cook a very good recipe. It has all the natural resources that you need to produce green hydrogen. It has the human development, the research, the universities, this council. So the question is how we can bring all those ingredients together to make a very strong case. We think that with Japan, with the European Union, we are like-minded partners in this endeavor. We can cooperate together. We build on the same foundation, and we have the same challenges, and we see the same opportunities. Again, I mentioned challenges of competitiveness, of job creation, of economic growth, but we also can make a huge impact because the value chain is huge, and therefore there is a space for collaboration. And that's what we would like to see, how we can find and explore ways in which we can work together in a way that is mutually beneficial for South Africa, because we will be increasing competitiveness of the domestic market, but also for Japan and South Africa and the European Union, because we will also be able to benefit from that collaboration.
Thank you very much. I think the time is coming, and the session should be closed soon. So I think we have to go to the photo session. I think, let me have the really large board for the distinction. So the photo should be, the speakers just a second.
Change your names. Sure. Okay.
Thank you very much, colleagues. The session has been closed now. We can all go outside and take a group picture. Thank you.
Save a moment.